Hey, welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. Let's take a look. Let's take this out. I should have had this ready. I'm sorry I didn't, but let's go. Blood sugar is at 8.3, looking pretty good. 1.2 units of insulin back. I'm feeling better. This morning it was weird. It felt like I did when I didn't have enough insulin going into me, but now I feel fine. So it was probably me just waking up more than anything. It's probably this mind playing tricks. But who knows? It was still pretty good. 8.3. Time in range. We've gone up a percent. We're now at 94%. Still 6% above. We're going to have to work on this and get better numbers, but still 94%. Still a great win, and this hasn't changed since we did our first video this morning. Today, I want to discuss all you have to do is beep, 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 beep to gain control. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. This channel is provided for informational purposes only. Contact your physician for any diagnostic or treatment plan. So often, when people hear that you have diabetes, first of all, it's how you got it. They come up with so many things that it's very frustrating for a new diabetic, even for us old diabetics. You ate too much sugar. If you just exercise more, if you ate cinnamon, if you, bee pollen was one I heard. Everyone is reaching for that elusive cure. Until it comes, we're going to be bombarded with all these excuses and reasons for why we have it, how it can be cured. I've said this on these videos, days videos about this. People have done videos where they've said, oh, well, yes, I've cured my type 1 diabetes. Oh, it's through exercise. And I have to say, first of all, it sounds like what they call diabetes 1.5 or latent onset diabetes. Having full blown type 1 diabetes, I have not heard of it cured just by exercising or just by having whole foods diet or just by not eating any carbs. It's not going to happen. Doesn't mean any of those points can't help. It just means that it's not going to be the mind all cure for diabetes. The only way diabetes or type 1 diabetes can be treated, we're not talking type 2 gestational, we're talking about type 1, is by insulin. Insulin injections, whether it be a pump, a needle, a syringe, we'll call it a syringe, a pen, doesn't matter how you take it, but type 1 diabetes needs insulin supplemental to what your body makes. Because BC is BC, sorry, did I say BC? Because we don't produce any insulin. And as such, people constantly get sucked into believing. I was in the hospital for my own diabetes issue, and on our ward, there was this younger teenage person. And that person, excuse me, was a diabetic or is a diabetic. But he fell into the rantings of saying, if you just eat raw foods, which includes a lot of nuts and berries, your diabetes is going to disappear. Well, it didn't, and he ended up in DKA because he heard this and believed it. I don't think he'll make that mistake again. Your brain needs carbs. There are different types of carbs we can be having. There is carbs which are junk, but there are also other carbs that whole wheats, rolled oats type. These are more of a complex carbs. Potatoes are simple carb. Well, don't get me going. If you had butter, oh, they're so good. But we're not going there right now. Having what you want out of life means you're going to have to plan out some things. And first of all, any little information you get. If I come down here one day and start saying, if you drink 12 ounces of Kool-Aid every hour on the hour, your diabetes will disappear. Not a fact at all, by the way. I think I could be liable. Would that be a right word? Not liable, but guilty if people got sick and died. My first history of learning about, all these made up misbeliefs was a story that I read where a chiropractor had this guy stop taking his insulin because he could correct his diabetes through the alignment of the spine, and that person died because he believed the chiropractor. I believe chiropractic can manipulate you to move better, to feel better because you're not kinking or whatever. But to cure diabetes, the only way we can really cure diabetes as we know right now is by insulin. Whether we get a cell that produces insulin injected into our body, or we find different ways of injecting insulin into our bodies, insulin is the key. So far, and I have not heard any investigation into this, but rejuvenating our pancreases, I don't know. Maybe that's somewhere someone is looking into that. It's important to remember also that Banting and Best were laughed at and ridiculed by the scientific community when they first came up with the idea of the magic elixir that would cure diabetes. 80 years later, we still don't know why some things attack certain individuals. What they do know is it's nothing I've done, it's nothing the other diabetics have done to give us this condition. So telling us you just have to do this to cure your diabetes is a bunch of hogwash. Pure and simple. Eating lower carbs can help you modify your weight gain. It will also keep your blood sugars lower. But totally eliminating carbs, no. There's people out there who are now saying, well, you've eliminated your carbs. Now all you have to do is count the amounts of fats and the amount of protein to add to get your insulin values. Okay. But I don't have to worry about that if you're having a suitable amount of carbs. Now, ideally, they say carbs less than 30 grams per meal. And I was always thinking I had a sandwich, I had chips, I had an apple. 30 grams isn't that much. But we don't need a hell of a lot of carbs, but we do need some carbs. We do need some fats, and we need some proteins. Your body needs proteins in order to rebuild its system. Your body, your brain needs carbohydrates to function. And they're not diabetes related videos, but I have had videos where people say, oh, I'm not eating any carbs whatsoever. Again, I call hogwash. You may not be eating junk food, but you're certainly eating some form of complex carbs because you wouldn't be functioning properly if you weren't. And we have to really think that when people are telling you what you should be doing, first of all, they don't live a life with T1D. They're thinking that they have all the answers. No, that isn't going to work. And us as diabetics need to express that no, these things don't work. And the way of a sensible diet intermittent fasting on a whole doesn't work well for a type 1 diabetic. I know there'll be people out there who are going to argue this point with me. Eating smaller meals throughout the day is probably the best way to control your blood sugars so that you so you can carry on. Just because someone tells you one thing, as a diabetic, you need to research. Ask your doctor. Because there may be some truth to it, but it's not the whole picture. That's it for today. Have a great day. We'll talk later. Bye now. My email is mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com. mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com.